Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Coming up this week, Shanghai Disney reopens as Disney Springs gets ready for a phased reopening on May 20th. All this as Disney announces no new hotel, dining, or event reservations for June. We'll tell you what we think all of that means coming up next. From the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida, this is the Diz Unplugged. The Diz Unplugged is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel. Let the experts at Dreams Unlimited Travel help you plan your next Disney vacation. Dreams agents are committed to giving you honest and unbiased advice and helping you plan a magical vacation your family will remember for years. Visit us on the web at www.dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. And by Magic Candle Company. Magic Candle is the leader in theme park-inspired candles, wax melts, fragrance oils, and much more. Bring a little bit of the magic into your home with Magic Candles. Use code DisneyInfo at checkout and receive 15% off your order every time. That's MagicCandleCompany.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 1078 of the Diz Unplugged for the week of May 12th, 2020. Coming to you live from the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined via Skype this week by my good friends Denny Sunderly.
Hi there.
Corey Martin.
I'm just happy to be here.
And our producer, Mr. Craig Williams.
Hello. Ahoy, ahoy.
Welcome to the show, folks. Hope your week is off to a good start. We have so much to talk about this week. We're just going to get right into it. First, as I'm sure you all know, Shanghai Disneyland has reopened to guests. Now, their version of Disney Springs, I forgot what it's called, Disney Village or something, Disneytown, reopened a few months ago. They're now reopening the parks. So I just want to go through some of the facts as we know them right now, and then we'll get into a discussion. The Chinese government limited attendance to 24,000 guests, about 30% of what the park normally sees. But Disney decided to sell even fewer tickets out of an abundance of caution, which I think speaks volumes, and we're going to get to that too. They want to make sure that they're able to implement safety measures appropriately, and they also know that what they're doing in Shanghai is going to be a rough model for reopening parks around the world. This, for me, is another example of what I've been saying. You know, I'm the first one to criticize Disney, right? But they are consistently in this, so far, have been putting public safety and the safety of their cast members above profits. Mm-hmm. So the fact that the Chinese government would have allowed them to sell more tickets, but they chose to sell fewer to make sure they were doing it safely, speaks volumes for me.
I agree.
Those tickets sold out within hours. Everyone was assigned a time, and they were allowing 200 people per group to come into the park as a way to manage the influx. Guests are required to wear face masks. Temperature checks being performed before you're allowed entry into the park. Mats have been placed in various locations to show where you can stand in an effort to force social distancing. And the cast members are literally wiping down every surface in the park regularly. Like, they're constantly going around, wiping everything down. Now, Lex Luthor, Chapek, did an interview with CNBC this week, and while he wouldn't mention a specific date or anything to reopen the rest of the parks, he did say that there would be differences because of local governments, local cultures and customs and things like that. that they had to factor in, but that this was a rough blueprint. He also said, and they've been trying to require people to wear masks when they come back in the park, which is what I thought. And given what we see going on around the country right now, with people's reaction to requirements by private businesses to wear masks, I'm really wondering, and we'll open this up for discussion, what is this going to look like for guest services? How many people are going to be screaming at guest services and cast members that they don't have the right to tell them to wear a mask? And I just want to make sure we get this out there now. They absolutely do. They absolutely do. It's private property. They can tell you you're not allowed to wear yellow shirts, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can sue them till the cows come home. You'll be wasting your money on lawyers. It's their right as private property to say what they will allow and what they won't. So I just want to get ahead of that now. Don't scream about your constitutional rights, because that doesn't play into this at all. This is a private company on private property. And I'm being told by people who want to open the economy that if I'm not comfortable with it, stay home. Okay, that's a fair argument. But by the same token, if you're not comfortable with these requirements, then you stay home. But let's open it up to some discussion. Corey?
I think I'll feel more comfortable, to be honest. Not physically comfortable, obviously, but more comfortable knowing that masks are a requirement. It puts everybody on a level playing field. Unlike grocery stores right now, unlike Home Depot right now, where you run into some people wearing masks, some people other. I choose to go down the aisles where other people are wearing masks. But by Disney enforcing this, it's going to make, I think it's going to make lives a little bit easier for us, not necessarily Disney's guest services. They're going to have, it's going to be insane for them, and I feel sorry for them. But I think I will feel more comfortable, I'll feel safer, that knowing that we're all on a level playing field. And I do wonder, though, for those guests that walk up there, those guests that haven't really been planning, that haven't been watching the news, and they show up without anything. Family of 4, family of 6. Now, we know Disney's going to sell Disney-branded masks, but, are you going to tell that family of 4 or 6, go purchase, or are they going to have some cheaper version to hand out? Almost like when you try shoes on and you're not wearing socks, here's some free socks for you to use right now. So I wonder if Disney's going to provide some free masks for those people.
I would, given everything they've done and the way they've handled this, I would almost guarantee that they will have masks there free of charge for people to wear.
Absolutely.
And, and I get it. Look, you know what? I do respect people's rights to choose not to wear one. I do. But, private property is private property. And I'm not allowed to come onto your property and do whatever I want, because that's your property and you have rights as a property owner. Well, so does Disney. Mm-hmm. So does Disney. Disney can refuse entry to anybody for any reason or no reason. So I'm sure they will try and make it as comfortable as humanly possible, the best they can. And I understand wearing a mask in Florida heat, wearing a mask in anything is not comfortable, okay? Yeah. It's a sucky situation, but it's what we have to do if we want to reopen responsibly and not be in a worse situation 3 months from now because cases have spiked again. Yeah. But Denny, what do you think?
Wearing face masks, I think, just for the foreseeable future is going to be part and parcel with a Walt Disney World vacation. It just is. And we know from the science, it's not for me, it's for you. It's for the other people that I'm in the park with, that I'm keeping my germs to myself. If I've got something going on, I've got a mask on. That person, that friend, whoever, complete stranger, is more protected against the spread of the virus. And they simply have to do this. I mean, They have to. If they want to be able to open back up, obviously safety, safety begins with me. That's huge with Disney. It is always safety first with Disney. And so we can complain or be upset about some changes, but this has got to be something that is done, like you said, Pete, out of an abundance of caution. And I also get how, it is heartbreaking. I have a dear friend who was supposed to be leaving today for Walt Disney World, and she's not with her family, and that's hard. And she doesn't know when she's coming back, and if she comes back, if they're all going to have to be wearing masks. So I get it. If this is your once in a lifetime or once in several years trip and you've spent thousands of dollars to get here, I understand that it would take a moment just to be able to wrap your brain around that. But I think the hand washing stations that we saw before the temporary closure are going to remain. I think the hand sanitizer stations everywhere that we saw before the quarantine are going to remain, and face masks are here for now.
Corey?
I also want to say it's not for kids. I know Julie and I, our challenge is going to be more towards Ferris. He has Down syndrome. Trying to get the whole virus wearing a mask thing through his head. He's starting to understand it now, but it's also not Disney's responsibility to say, well, my child won't wear a mask. Well, you're going to have to get creative. Julie and I are trying to get creative how we're going to enforce this on Ferris. We can't show up to Disney and say, my child has Down syndrome. He can't wear a mask. Well, we're trying to get creative with it. We're trying to say, all right, we have a stroller for him, an older, like a stroller that holds more weight. And so we're just going to make we're going to start with locally, places that aren't enforcing the mask. You either sit in your stroller or you wear a mask, either or. And that we're trying to do, come up with creative things. But I also want to, as far as masks go, it's going to be a part of our lives. So looking at ones that, fit you comfortably, especially in Florida, I've been ordering a bunch on Etsy from different suppliers just to test them out, see which ones are comfortable. Been doing some yard work with Julie. I'll wear one. Like, well, that's too, it's too hot for Florida sun. But we are Will and I are actively moving forward with trying to get Diz branded masks. So the research is part of this. It's still very new. The styles are still coming out. So we're getting, hopefully soon, we're going to get some samples, try them out. And then what we're going to do, we're going to pass after I try them all on, I'm going to send the unwashed ones to Pete and have him try them on.
Awesome.
And then we'll just pass them around the podcast team.
Okay.
What do y'all think?
Is there going to be one that says, I'm just happy to be here?
Right. And stay out the damn legs.
No, it's not.
Stay out the damn legs for sure. That was a highly requested one.
Craig, let's get you in on this. What do you think about all this?
What do I have to say about what in particular?
Well, what we've been talking about Shanghai being the test bed for how they're going to reopen the parks, the requirement for masks in the park and the Orlando parks and the California parks. What's your thoughts?
They're going to look at, of course, they're going to look at Shanghai with it, but at the same time, too, I think they're going to focus more on what's happening with Disney Springs once it reopens and in its phases, because, you can look at Shanghai for it, but it's also a different culture of people, and they don't. I'm not saying that the people who come to Walt Disney World just aren't going to get on board like people in Shanghai have, but I feel like you can't just say, oh, it worked in one Disney park, it'll work in all Disney parks. So I think it's better to look at what we're doing here first in Florida and then move on from there. And it's like with the mask stuff, it's just, we've been talking about this for the longest time. If you don't want to wear a mask in Florida, don't wear a mask in Florida. It's like, in terms of what you want to do, if it's a requirement to go to Disney with a mask and you don't want to, then don't come. It's getting old in a way of like these debates on it. If it's what's best, it is. If you don't want to, don't show up. So if I don't want to come out because it's a 95-degree day and I don't want to put on a mask, I'm not going to show up. It doesn't matter if the Queen of England's shaking hands that day, but we won't be able to get within 6 feet anyway. So
no.
Yeah, really.
It would be a wave.
Away from her. Wait. We're going to get a chance to see what this looks like when Disney Springs reopens a little over a week from now. They are set to reopen with limited capacity on the 20th. The announcement from Disney was as follows: as we continue to monitor conditions and with the health of guests and Disney cast members at the forefront of our planning, we are making several operational changes. Disney Springs will begin to reopen in a way that incorporates enhanced safety measures, including increased cleaning procedures, the use of appropriate face coverings by both cast members and guests, limited contact guest services, and additional safety training for cast members. We will apply learnings and ideas from leaders in the health and travel industries, and we're also talking to our unions as we prepare for some cast members to return to work. So that's going to be the test bed here, right? So we're going to get a chance to see how that plays out. And, you know, I don't know, like I sent an email to all my team saying that I would respect their individual decisions, that I'm not requiring any of them to go cover the reopening of Disney Springs. And that if they chose to go, as long as they were adhering to the letter of what Disney is requiring, that was an individual decision that they could make. I've got three of those people on this call right now. Mm-hmm. So let me ask you guys, how do you feel, honestly, about Disney Springs opening next week and whether or not you're planning to go? I know that I won't, but again, I'm in a higher risk group. So that's my reason for that. Mm-hmm. But what about you guys? Start with you, Corey.
See, I think, you know, when this thing first started, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll go. This early stage of, you know, everything's open, let's go crazy. It's, I don't know. I would feel more comfortable going to Disney than Home Depot, I would say, because they're requiring, there's a safety requirement there. But still, Pete, you know, I've had pneumonia several times. I have, you know, a child here in the house. So as far, you know, aside from me stripping down the front yard and Julie hosing me off, which would make, you know, a good TikTok, but
if you do say so yourself,
no, like a funny one, like making fun of me. It's like, that's the strangest 12-year-old I've ever seen. No, but cold water does that. But I don't know, not right now. I think I would let. No, I think I would let a couple weeks go by to feel safety.
What about you, Denny?
Yeah, so I all along throughout this time of quarantine and social distancing, I have been just chomping at the bit to get back to Disney. And now that it can be done in just over a week, I am incredibly hesitant. And as it stands right now, I won't be there on the 20th. I want to wait a little bit and let a little time pass by before I'm back on property. I so badly want to be there, but at what cost and for what? Like the writer in me and the fan in me, I want to be there. I want to get the experience and be able to talk about it. And I want to see what it's like and how this whole thing is fleshing out in real time. But then the wife and the mom and the daughter and the human being in me goes, okay, wait a second. I don't know that the risk is worth it. And so at this point, I'm not going to be there, and it's going to feel weird not to be there, but I will be watching from afar, and we'll see how it goes. And maybe once we get to phase 2, because the state is still in phase 1 of reopening, so maybe, and they haven't announced when phase 2 is going to be enacted. So maybe once we get to that point, I'll feel better about it. But you know, my youngest and my husband are both like, I'd be okay if you didn't go. And just thank you, Pete, for your graciousness and not requiring us to go and really honestly and really.
Well, that was just a ruse. I'm probably going to. That was just a ruse. I'm probably going to fire you for not going.
That was, yeah.
Thanks, Pete. Bye, everyone.
What about you, Craig?
So I've been thinking a lot about this, and I don't know how the rest of our team has been handling, like how they get groceries and stuff during this. I know a lot of you have said that you've been just having groceries shipped to your house and doing it that way. I don't care for that. I am the type of shopper that I like to go and remind myself about the 13 things that I didn't have on my list and kind of shop that way. So I've gone out to Publix every single time that I've needed groceries. I think I've hit like Target twice, Walmart once, pet food store another couple times. And the main thing I've learned in all of this is that, like, one trip to Publix, I can tell you that what Disney Springs is going to be doing with limited capacity and making all cast members and guests wear masks, that's already more than you're getting at Publix. Like, I've seen the personal shoppers in Publix too. They're not wearing masks. So even if they show up to your doorstep and leave it off at the side and they have a mask on making you think that they were, chances are they weren't, because it's like, it literally, I would say on average, the times I've gone, especially now, I've had to go twice this week since we've been in phase one. And I would say it's gone from the majority of people wearing masks to, I would say, maybe 1 out of 5 people in masks, at least during the times I've gone. So as we go into these phased reopenings, people are definitely not caring as much anymore, at least from my perception on it. I cannot say from any other times that I'm out, but when I'm out and from what I'm seeing, that's the visual I'm getting. So in something like Disney Springs, you're telling me I'm going to go to a place where people are required to wear face masks, they're practicing social distancing, they're kept at a limit. To me, that actually sounds like a place that I would be more likely to want to be, better than Publix and the stores at the very least. My thing is, unless I have a legitimate reason to go to Disney Springs, I don't see myself as going. Like, I'm not going to go just solely to walk out and be like, okay, I want to see what's happening. I want to see what the protocol is. That's when you're being dumb and unsafe, is when you're just going to study what's happening and not actually. If I'm using the services, if there's a place I really want to eat, then maybe that's different. But I don't, at the same time too, I'm sitting back here thinking, like, where would I want to go and eat at Disney Springs when that reopens by myself, since Kylie is not going to go out with me at all, and I don't really know what that would be. Maybe I'd have a sad meal at Chicken Guy by myself, crying over my chicken tenders.
Again.
But
Well, you would just be crying over the food at Chicken Guy. I mean,
no. I love Chicken Guy, but at the same time too, I can air fry up some pretty decent tenders myself too. So so for me, it really does come down to, if I have a reason to go to Disney Springs, if there's legitimate food or a dessert or something that I'm like, okay, I'll go. I'll also take in what I'm seeing along the way too. Then I could go for that, but I can't just go for fun. Like I was telling Denny a while back, like, yeah, I want to get back to Disney Springs just solely for like video opportunities, not for vlogs, but like I want to be able to like record something that isn't from 5 years ago that I'm releasing on our Diz channel. Like, it's cool to get that blast from the past, but I'm ready for like new and fresh material. So like the part of me of that says, yes, I want to get back in there, but it's just irresponsible to go solely for something like that. And that's the last way I want to be perceived by anyone out there, is, oh, he's just going out for video and going out for work and stuff. But if I can tie the two together, maybe, but not in another way. So but I do believe it'll be extremely, extremely safe, safer than most of the other stores that most people are going shopping at, and other delivery people stuff, bringing things to their houses and stuff. I think Disney Springs is probably safer in the long run.
Well, we asked the question on our Disney Unplugged Facebook page. How do you feel about Disney Springs reopening? We got over 2,400 responses to this. Just under 17% of you say it's way too soon to be reopening. Just over 32% of you said, great, I'm going. Where 51% said, I'm happy to see them reopen, I'm staying home, which is the That's where I am. So I think that, and this is something I've been thinking about a lot, that I think in the minds of the people who say we need to reopen the economy. And I'm there. Like, I would love to see, believe me, I have a vested interest. That's how I pay my mortgage, right? I have a vested interest in wanting to see the economy reopen, see the parks reopen, the cruise lines start sailing. But I think there's this magical thinking going on in the mind of some people that if we just reopen things, everybody's going to come and we're going to make money. But that poll is a really great example that that's not going to happen. You have a lot of people in that poll alone. You're talking about, of the people, 66% saying, no, I'm not going. And that's a good thing, I think, right now. I think the people who are willing to go, and sorry, Google, for whatever reason, Google Home thought it was time to start talking to me. It's the world we live in. I had to unplug that for that very reason, because it's happened a couple times, and I plugged it back in when I was cleaning the other day, and I should have just left it unplugged. But anyway, I think the fact that fewer people are interested in going, hopefully that will keep the crowds down. And make the process for them, for Disney, a little bit easier in figuring out what the best practices are going to be. And, Denny mentioned it earlier, Disney's always had that safety first policy. And it's easy when you're a jaded old queen like I am to look at that cynically and say, yeah, safety first. But you know what? They're putting their money where their mouth is right now. Mm-hmm. The amount of money this company has lost closing these parks and their cruise ships is staggering. And sometimes, and I'll speak for myself, sometimes I've presented them as jaded, disinterested, and money grabbing. And there are times they've acted like that. This isn't one of them. This just isn't one of them. I have never been more, I don't want to say it in a condescending way, but I've never been more proud to work with an organization.
Yep.
And Corey, say something so I can break Google Home here, because it's driving me nuts.
Going back to the safety thing, it's where Disney is requiring it, but it also reminds me of Pete. I don't know if your headphones are still in, but it also reminds me of during hurricane season, where you said if you would send your mom to Disney during a hurricane, as far as that safety goes. But I'm starting to feel the same way about how they're handling the reopening of the parks at way lower capacity. These guidelines, strict guidelines, not you wear a mask if you want to. So going back. Yeah, I feel safer going to Disney over any other place out there right now.
Now, another thing that's been going on this week that I want to talk about was the announcement Disney made that there would be no new reservations for restaurants, attractions, experiences, resort hotels until July. And a lot of people have taken that as meaning nothing's reopening until July. And I do not believe that is the case, because as of right now, this may change, but as of right now, they're not canceling any of the reservations and things that have been booked. I think they've said what we have on the books right now is the maximum capacity we feel comfortable with in reopening our parks, although they haven't announced this yet, right? This is my speculation. They may very well turn around and say, no, we're not going to open until July. I don't think so. And I'll tell you why in a second. But they haven't canceled any of that, any of those things. So I think they're just making sure they don't have more people than they're comfortable with handling. And so now they're saying, we'll allow it, we can take more in July. And here's why I think they're not that they are still going to start this reopening on June 1st. That if you have reservations, I think there's a better than average chance that vacation will happen if it's in June. They have, they did the free dining recovery offer for people whose vacations had been canceled because of this. And it was a great deal, actually. It was one of the best free dining offers we've seen in a very long time. And a lot of people booked it. A lot of people took advantage of it. Well, that deal no longer exists, right? They've pulled that completely. And if you make any changes to your reservation, that free dining offer falls off. They're not going to move it to another date. So given that they have clamped down on that, and when I tell you there are no exceptions, I mean, I've never seen them.
My apologies. I couldn't hear what you
Oh
said.
my God! All of my devices. What is going on?
Voices from
It's
the ether.
insane today. So I have to shut Google off. I've got to take my Apple Watch off. It's the life we live.
I would assume that this is.
Let me just finish that thought. There is no way, in my mind, they're going to pull the plug on that, say there are no changes allowed, and then turn around and start canceling reservations in early June when people took this offer. They said from June 1st. So now, again, they are putting safety first. If there's a predominance of evidence that it's not safe to do it, they won't do it. They will wait. They will wait. So that much I know. But it's going to be interesting. Go ahead, Corey.
I think this is Disney's unplanned soft opening. So, these people that had to cancel their reservations, I think they will get the first, there'll be the test bed, but I don't think capacity is going to be, maybe 10%. It's going to be so low. If Disney just opens it to those people that cancel through June, it should be, they should be able to walk on to everything. And it gives Disney a chance to really iron out everything before July.
Well, this is what I just want to make sure I mention this because John sent me this before the show, that Walt Disney World and Disneyland Resort are no longer taking resort reservations prior to July 1st. Disney has ended the free dining offer for guests affected by COVID-19 without warning as of Friday evening, May 8th. Guests affected by COVID-19 closures can no longer get the free dining offer. It was originally announced to be bookable through May 30th, but it was removed without warning, and there are no exceptions being made. Guests booked in June 2020 under the free dining promotion who want to now move their reservations will not be allowed to apply the free dining offer to a future reservation. Currently, only the general Fun and Sun promotion is being offered. So I wanted to make sure, because John sent that to me specifically, to make sure that it was mentioned on the show today. I'm sorry, Danny, go ahead.
No, if any cancellations have to happen in June, I'm likely it'll go down the way it did in May, where they were rolling cancellations a week at a time. So it kind of went through in phases throughout the month. Oh, now my reservation is getting canceled. Now May 23rd through the 27th is being canceled. Things like that. I'm certainly hoping that isn't the case, that those cancellations aren't in effect. But I'm in the same ballpark with you guys. I feel like they've got a max capacity in mind that they are trying to game plan for, and everything in June is hitting that benchmark, is hitting that ceiling. And so they're just nothing new in June. If you want something new, July's what you got to look at.
Now, I didn't look into this myself, but I read something this morning on the DBC fan Facebook group that DBC resorts are still accepting reservations for June. So I'm not sure if that's true, or if it was a fluke or a one-off, but so that's something too. Like I said, I've heard from so many sources that Like usually, like I'll get something from one or two people, and if they're good sources, I'll put it out there as a rumor. I've never had so many people telling me the same thing that we're in a position to know, and everybody's saying June 1st. I could be wrong, right? They could be wrong. Maybe it's a ruse, because they know who they're talking to, and they know I'm going to say it. Maybe that's what they want out there. I don't know.
So, would you think we'd
really
hear something this week?
I think if we're going to hear if we don't hear something this week, I think they want to see what happens when if Disney Springs is a nightmare, and no one will follow the guidelines, and cast members are constantly having confrontations with guests, yeah, I think that may have an issue. Florida has started reopening over the last week. If there is a marked increase in the number of new cases, that may have an impact. I don't know. What I do know is that if they do open, they feel it's safe to do so, and that it's not being driven by. It's not, and I need that. I need to know that right now. I need to trust them on that. And so far, everything I've seen has indicated to me that is their intention, to do it safely. And they are erring on the side of caution. Some people may think that it's an overreaction or whatever, and you're entitled to your opinion. But I say error on the side of caution. Mm-hmm. When it's something that could be fatal, I say error on the side of caution, just to be safe. Corey,
have we heard anything about how they're going to handle the water parks? Obviously you can't wear a mask. Even social distancing, and you can't put markers in the wave pool. So I'm wondering how they're gonna handle that, because also in the water parks, just from being a lifeguard, I mean, there's a lot of spitting going on.
Mm-hmm.
What I've heard is that we will not see the water parks open for quite some time. Yeah. We will not, I think, until this is completely behind us, because there is no reasonable way for them to enforce the guidelines they need to enforce.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
At a water park. So I don't think you're going to see that. I don't think you're going to see a lot of the indoor theater presentations being done. I think it's going to be a long time before we see parades and fireworks shows being done. But even at Shanghai, if you watch some of the video from Shanghai, they did the castle projection show, and people were all clustered together. So it's going to be a challenge. Picture this if you can. Okay, Sophia.
It was 1930.
Picture this, yeah.
Picture this.
Picture this. You're walking down Main Street, right? And then there's a Brazilian tour group right in front of you, and they're all 6 feet apart. How do you get through? That's a puzzle. We're gonna find out soon.
Well, I'm from Jersey. Okay.
No, but
out.
But talking about the parks are open here. The pools are here open, have just reopened locally, and they have to be cleaned every 2 hours. So every 2 hours, there's a full cycle through of cleaning that they have to go through, and everybody's out of the pool waiting for however long that cycle. I don't see that would be, able to actually happen at Blizzard Beach or Typhoon.
I think it's going to be a very long time before some of those things come back. Mm-hmm. I really do. And you know what? I have never wanted to be wrong as much as I want to be wrong about this. I was reading, from some reputable sources the other day that now they're saying that maybe COVID-19 isn't as fatal as they once thought. That as they're getting more information, that it, in some areas, it seems like the fatality rate is not the 4, 5, or 6% they thought. That in some cases it's looking like it's 1% or lower than 1%, which is a whole different thing. But this is new, right? This is not a virus in this form that has been seen before. And I hope we find out that we overreacted. I hope we find out that it wasn't nearly as serious as we thought it was. But given the number of people that are dying And the information we have right now, that's what we have to go on. That's what we have to go on. And that's what Disney is basing their decisions on. And I'm very, I feel very, very certain. Well, certain's a strong word. I feel reassured right now that Disney will make decisions in the best interests of their guests and their cast members, and not for profits. I think once this is over, once it's safe, if you thought they were doing money grabs before,
oh yeah,
get ready.
Watch out, okay? because Daddy's going to need a new pair of shoes. You know what I'm saying? They're going to have to make this money back somewhere. They're a publicly traded company, and they're going to have to make this money back somewhere. So we're going to have to gird our loins. And
Hoop-de-Doo's going to be moved to like Mickey's Backyard Barbecue, so you can fit more people over there.
Well, I mean, that's interesting. Why wouldn't they do that anyway right now?
Right.
To Mickey's Backyard Barbecue, where you have a much, much greater chance of doing social distancing. Maybe put the same number of people that you would get on an average night just in a wider space.
All right.
I think we might see some really creative solutions like that.
In this case, though, wasn't Mickey's Backyard Barbecue destroyed for the DVC resort?
Yeah, I believe it's right. No longer with us because of Reflections.
Well,
that's right. That's
right. Like I said, they should move it to the beach.
But not for nothing. Fort Wilderness has some property.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fort Wilderness has some property, or maybe it's the construction workers from Reflections that will perform the hoop-de-doo.
Oh, you wish.
That could happen. So, all right, let's just a couple things we got to talk about in housekeeping. We are going to be doing the show that would normally be done on June 2nd, that Tuesday, is actually going to be done that Monday on June 1st. Just want to let everybody know that. June 1st will be the 23rd anniversary of the Diz, which just makes me feel really, really, really old.
Almost able to drink.
Yeah, well, 23, it is able to drink. So we'll be doing that show on June 1st. Want to remind everybody that Magic Candle Company is now selling some really, really, really awesome hand sanitizers. There's about 7 or 8 fragrances, I believe, maybe a little more, from their library of fragrances, and hand sanitizers that actually exceed the CDC guidelines. CDC says they need to have 60% alcohol. These have 75. So they're potent, right? Especially when they first go on. But I think he should start making perfumes and colognes out of some of this stuff, because you put this hand sanitizer on, and I guess it's the oil, the fragrance oil that they're putting in. It doesn't dry you figure I'm putting 75% alcohol on my skin. It's going to eventually crack and fall off. But it actually doesn't. I'm not going to say it's like a moisturizer, but I think the fragrance oil in it kind of counteracts the effects that the alcohol would have. And it's just there. It's an amazing product. And Denny, $6.99 or $7.99?
$6.95.
$6.95.
Yes.
For a 2-ounce bottle. Use code DisneyInfo at checkout. You'll save 15%. That applies to all their products. But MagicCandleCompany.com, code DisneyInfo. Wanted to make sure we got that. And I want to plug our Moving to Orlando stuff. We're doing shows if you're interested in moving to Central Florida. We've got a bunch of shows that have gone up over the last month over on our YouTube channel, our movingtoorlando.com website, information about all the areas around Central Florida, as well as showing homes that are for sale or for rent in the area. You can find that there. And our Moving to Orlando Facebook group. Links to all that in the show notes down below this video on YouTube and on DizUnplugged.com. And of course, don't forget about Dreams Unlimited Travel. It's a company that pays for all this, right? Pays all these guys that are on this show, all the content that we produce. You can show your support for us and for our site, our shows, our content by just booking your next vacation with Dreams. It's the same price as if you go through Disney, except you get incredible agents. And we just released, I just saw this morning, our agents took it upon themselves to do this really, really cute video, and it just warmed my heart. I love them so much. They are awesome. It's all over the place right now on social, because I sent it to these guys and said, blast this, because it was so fun and just, it was really cool. So you get a great, great agent, passionate Disney fan, professional travel agent, knows their stuff. And I'm telling you, they showed why you should have a travel agent these past few months with all the things that went on with COVID-19. So please show us your support, dreamsunlimitedtravel.com for that. What else do we have for housekeeping? You guys must have something.
If I could, you go first, Corey.
No, I mentioned it earlier in the show, but I'll talk a little bit more about it, about the mask that we are. I asked the question last week to comment, and everybody was like, yes. We had some stay out of the damn lake requests. Some I'm just happy to be here. I'm just happy to breathe here, or whatever. But we are we are actively looking. Like I said, it is going to take a little bit. I'm hoping we get something going. I set an internal deadline, and then I move it up by 2 weeks, and that's Pete's deadline. So, hopefully we have something in hand by June, and we start getting.
Yeah, my deadline was yesterday.
Right, exactly. I set my internal, and I move it up by 2 weeks. So hopefully we have everything ready by June, by July 1st for the park reopenings. But it takes a little bit of research. We're gonna try them on. I'm gonna have Ferris try some on. I'll have Julie, Finley, the cats, whatever, and then we'll go from there. Just want to give everybody an update.
Well, no, that's something. I mean, Teresa has been blowing up her social media with Klaus in various outfits and hats. That cat doesn't kill her in her sleep is beyond. But I'm sure we'll see Klaus with a little mask on.
Right.
Denny, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to send a shout out to my youngest. Today is his 21st birthday, and because of this whole virus and social distancing, we are not with him today. So just kind of bummed about that, but I know he is an avid viewer, and so I just want to say happy birthday.
Hey, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Andrew. Oh.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
What about you, Craig? You got anything?
No.
Oh.
I mean, my internet is still working now. I thought for sure, like, the start of the show, I texted Pete like 3 minutes into it, and I was like, I think my internet's giving up at any second now and restarting. Spectrum hates me today, but it's actually it's cleared up, and we've been good for the back half, so I guess I'll plug Spectrum Internet. If you want mediocre internet at a fair price, Spectrum.
I had Spectrum for the longest time, and then they ran AT&T Fiber. Oh my God, that crazy woman just texted me a picture of her cat with a mask on. Okay, really?
Show it. You gotta show it.
I had Spectrum. I had Spectrum for the longest time, and then AT&T ran fiber in my neighborhood. If you have fiber, if you have AT&T Fiber in your area, get it. It has been solid as a rock. It is it's half of what Spectrum was charging me, and it is ridiculously fast. Hold on.
We all need fast internet with all these.
I don't know if you guys. I don't know if you guys can see that.
Oh, my stars.
Oh yeah.
But that's that poor cat.
Oh, poor cat.
That is a patient cat. That's for sure.
I don't know how it, like, you know, my late cat, God rest his soul, Figaro. If I tried to do that, that cat would have shredded me. Shredded me.
I have scratches just from trying to pet the damn cats.
So, all right, folks, that's going to do it for this week's show. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back with you again next Tuesday with another edition of the Diz Unplugged. Have a great week, folks, and remember, stay in the damn house.